Have you ever stopped and wondered why we say one cat, two cats, but we say one sheep, two sheep? I mean, why isn't it sheeps? It seems kind of random, but believe it or not, there's a really cool and logical system hiding right under our noses. So let's dig in and uncover the secret rules of English plurals. All right, let's start with a pattern that we all just know. It's practically built in. You take a word, say cat, and if you want more than one, you just add an S on the end. Super simple, right? And yep, same deal for dog. Add that S and you've got dogs. So far, so good. The rule seems perfectly consistent. Then you've got horse, which becomes horses. Now say that one out loud. Horses. The ending actually sounds a bit different, doesn't it? It's more of an "es" sound. But, in writing, the pattern still feels the same. Just tack something on at the end. So the rule is just add S. Case closed. Easy peasy. Or is it? Because this is where our nice, neat little pattern starts to get really interesting. Get this. One sheep, two sheep. Wait, what? The plural form is exactly the same as the singular. The S has just vanished. And then there's this guy. Man becomes men. Here, we're not adding anything to the end at all. Instead, the vowel inside the word changes. So, if it's not always add S, then what in the world is the real rule for making things plural? To solve this puzzle, we need to pull out a really crucial tool from the linguistics toolkit. We have to learn how to separate the abstract idea of plural from the actual sounds or letters we use to show it. This brings us to a super important distinction. On one side, you have the morpheme. Now, that's the abstract unit of meaning itself, like the pure concept of more than one. And on the other side, you have the morphs. Those are the actual physical forms that meaning takes. They're the sounds you actually hear and the letters you actually see. So here's the key takeaway. The meaning, that idea of plural, it's always the same. It's the form it takes that can change depending on the word. Okay, so now that we have this new tool, let's go back and look at our so-called simple examples again, because it turns out they're a little more sophisticated and honestly more elegant than they seem at first. Okay, let's really listen to those simple plural endings. For cats, you get a sharp, voiceless S sound. For dogs, listen, dogs. You can feel that buzz. That's a voiced Z sound. And for horses, it's a whole extra syllable, uz. Now, these aren't random. They follow totally predictable rules based on the sound that comes right before them. They're three distinct, but related, forms of the plural. And there's a fantastic term for this, allomorphs. Those three different sounds, s, z, and is, are all allomorphs of the plural morpheme. They all do the exact same job, they just sound a little different depending on what word they're attaching to. So that explains our regular plurals pretty nicely. But what about our original mystery, sheep? How do we account for a plural that looks and sounds completely identical to the singular? And this is where things get so cool. Linguists figured out this truly brilliant solution. They say we are still adding a plural morpheme to sheep, but it's a morph with no sound and no letters. It's an invisible plural, represented by this symbol, the zero symbol. This is called a zeromorph. And it's a really powerful idea, right? It's a morph that carries the full meaning of plural, but it has no physical form. It's just another allomorph in our plural toolkit. It just happens to be the invisible one. All right, we've got our regular allomorphs and our invisible zeromorph. But that still leaves our last problem child, words like men, which don't seem to follow any suffix rules at all. When man becomes men, it's not about adding something to the end. The change is happening right in the middle with that vowel sound. For cases like this, the best explanation is that we don't actually apply a rule. We just learn and store man and men as two separate but related items in our mental dictionary. And you see this pattern everywhere in English. Just think about the past tense. For most verbs, we have a simple rule, add ed. But for a verb like go, we don't say goed, do we? We use a completely different word, went. Irregular plurals work in pretty much the same way. So we have regular rules based on sound, an invisible rule, and then a list of words we just have to memorize. Let's put all these pieces together and see how what looked like a confusing mess of exceptions actually fits into a really neat system. So here's the complete picture. You start with the abstract idea, the morpheme, of plural, and it can show up in a few ways. It's got its 3 regular allomorphs that follow sound rolls, and then you've got the special cases, the invisible zeromorph for words like sheep, and the totally separate forms for irregulars like men. Okay, let's do a quick check to see if it all makes sense. Cats and dogs, well, those use our regular allomorphs. Sheep, that's our fascinating zeromorph. And men, that's an irregular form we just have to memorize. See? It all fits together. And what this really shows us is that language is just this beautiful dance between elegant, predictable patterns and a list of historical quirks you simply have to memorize. Understanding that balance between rules and memory is the key to understanding how language really works. Thanks for digging into this with me.